It's a long minute. All right, I am told it is 6 o'clock, so I would like to welcome everybody back from, hopefully everybody had a great summer and is ready for an exciting school year. In accordance with South Carolina Code of Laws, 1985, Section 30-4-80-E, the following have been notified of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting: the Herald, the Charlotte Observer, CN2, and WRHI. If you would, please join me with a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. It feels like a very long time since we've done this and gotten together, but you've all been, I know. You've all been given a copy of the agenda. Were there any adjustments or corrections? No. Then that will stand with unanimous consent, and we get to start off with some special recognition, which is exciting. So let's do that.
Let's do it. Let's do the fun stuff.
That's right.
As the board chair stated, we get to start out with some special recognitions. And for those of you who may be new to the room, we take the top of the agenda and we honor our state and national winners and sort of celebrate the fruits of their labor and our labor. First on the list, Coach Philip McCarter, would you come forward and help me honor Caden Tull? And I'm going to let you talk about him, okay?
Yep. First, thanks to the administration and the board. I know what it's like to, for what you guys do, being a spouse of a former board member. I know all the hard work. So thank you for everything you guys do to make things like this possible. First, I thought it would be good to provide some information on this award. It's called the Scholar All-American Award. The United Soccer Coaches Association was formed in 1941. It's the largest soccer coaches organization in the world with over 32,000 members. This organization is responsible for naming the High School All-Americans and the Scholar All-Americans for the sport of soccer. The Scholar All-American Award was created in 2000 and recognizes 50 to 55 student athletes by gender each year from across the nation. To be eligible for the award, the student athletes must be nominated by their coach and demonstrate that they've excelled both in the classroom and on the athletic field. The award truly is unique since it requires both academic and athletic merit. In terms of academics, the nominee must have earned at least a 3.75 on a 4.0 scale documented on an official transcript through the first semester of their senior year. In terms of athletics, they must demonstrate that they have achieved one of the best high school playing careers in the nation based on player stats and various honors. Due to such rigorous demands to win the award, according to the organization's records, no student athlete from the Fort Mill School District has ever won this award, male or female. In fact, only one other athlete has won this award in York County, and that was over 2 decades ago. And only 45 total student athletes from the state of South Carolina have won the award since its inception. But this year, the Fort Mill School District, and more specifically Catawba Ridge High School, had a student athlete that excelled in both categories. Caden, you want to come up? Academically, Caden had a 3.79 GPA on a 4.0 scale and was a model student. On the pitch, Caden was truly one of a kind, setting various school records, including most career goals and most career assists. In his last 2 years at Catawba Ridge, he scored 56 goals and created 34 assists. He was a 2-time All-Region, 2-time All-State player. Caden was the first player in school history to be named Region Player of the Year, not 1 year, but 2 consecutive years. In terms of leadership, Caden was a captain his senior year. Under his leadership on the pitch, this is pretty impressive, the program had an undefeated regular seasons all 3 years. never lost a regular season match while Caden's been at Catawba Ridge. With Caden's stewardship, the men's soccer program won every single region match ever played. Every single region match ever. While one may think that someone with Caden's abilities and resume might be arrogant, that is far from this young man's attitude and heart. Caden is one of the humblest young men I've ever met, and I'm truly honored and blessed to have coached Caden over the last 3 years. For winning this award, Caden will receive a medal and a certificate from the United Soccer Coaches Association, and Catawba Ridge will also receive a copy to post in our awards trophy case. And last, Caden will be honored at a reception in San Francisco at the annual convention if he so chooses to come. So congratulations, Caden.
Okay, next is Coach McCoy in attendance. Here he comes. We're picking up some of the teams that won state championships at the end of last year, and we still have one team left. I think it's the one of the baseball teams, but we'll go ahead. Softball. Excuse me. Yep. Don't want to say the wrong one.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the board and the district for honoring not only our student athletes, but all athletes throughout Fort Mill. It's just a privilege to be here to speak on behalf of our girls team, a 4x4 team. I like to call them up. Girls, come up. And I would like to also call Mia Royal up for the 800, and I'll speak on the accomplishments. So Mia is the 800 runner that won state for us. She ran 2:12 in state. Elise Davis is she ran on the 4x4. Sierra Smith ran on the 4x4. Alicia Lucas was a member of the 4x4 team, and Aubrey Barnett was the other member of the 4x4 team. I also like to call Amaria Davis up, and I'll give you the backstory on it. So she also ran on our 4x4 team that won state. She didn't actually run in the state meet, but she ran in the meet before to actually put us in position to get to the state meet. So I don't like to recognize the other four without recognizing her, because she's just as much as a member as anyone else. With Mia and the other 4x4 girls, I think Fort Mill will be proud to know that in York County history, they have ran the fastest times in the 800 and the 4x4 in York County history. So we want to make sure we keep that in Fort Mill. So once again, I'd like to thank you all, everyone, for just honoring them, and we really appreciate that. And hopefully we can be back here next year for the same thing.
Right. Make room.
Nice job, ladies.
Thank you guys especially for coming back. I know it's tricky for our spring athletes when they're off to the next school year, so we're glad to get to see you guys here today. You have all received a copy way back from June of our minutes. If you've had a chance to look over them, were there any adjustments or corrections to the minutes?
No, ma'am.
All right, then those will stand with unanimous consent. And our next item is public participation. I have 4 cards. We normally have a 15-minute window. We'll do 4 minutes apiece. So I've got them in the order they were handed to me. I'll call you up to the podium. I will. You can state your name and address, and then your 4 minutes will begin. And so I think we'll start with Michael Clarkson.
My name is Michael Clarkson. I live at 2139 Fox Creek Lane in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I'm coming to you because I'm a new hiree. I'm coming out of retirement for the second time because I still have some oomph left in me. I want to do some recognitions. I want to, first of all, recognize all the people in HR who've really done a great job getting me to where I'm at right now. I first applied as a sub with Sherry Hartley, and bless her heart with all the patients and doing all that paperwork. And then I got an offer from Northwestern. I turned that down. Got another offer from Chester County. I turned that down. I got a second offer from Northwestern, and that was the day of that interview. Miriam Melton, who works for HR as well, turned me on to Daniel Beals. And Mr. Beals called me at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's nice to sleep late when you're retired. But he said, I don't want to wake you up, but he said, I'd like to talk to you and give you an offer. And long story short, I went to Northwestern, interviewed with them, and I told them, I said, I'm going to be transparent. I have another offer in Fort Mill, and that didn't set well with them because they really, really wanted me. But after talking with Mr. Beals, I'm going to be working with the alternative program as a science person. I come from a long history of teaching those kids that teachers never wanted. I don't want to be cruel here, but the fall through the crack kids, the kids that seem to be troublemakers, I've never had a problem with those kids. When I taught in Chester, I worked with the sheriff's department on the side. So a lot of times I taught them and then I chased them at the same time. I was in Chester when we had a very dark day, December 12th, 1990. We had a school shooting 9 years before Columbine ever had theirs. So we had a tragedy on our campus and had to deal with a lot of mental health crisis, a lot of issues there. So I worked through that. But through the years, I've really worked with these kids, and I want to change the concept and the preconceived idea of what alternative school is. It's not what people think it is, because I've said that to so many people already in the last couple of days, and they're like, oh, you're an alternative. And that's where I want to change that. I want that conception to be, these are kids like anything else. They just need a little help, a little extra love, and a lot of trust. And so I'm really anxious to work with Mr. Beals. I don't want to say cheesy because that's just too bad of a word. But I just wanted to put a face with the name, and I would love to entertain y'all to come, of course, with his permission. I have a new principal. Come through the program and watch what we're doing, because I'm really want to work with this. So thank y'all very much.
Welcome to the family, and I'm glad the stars and planets aligned so that you could end up here instead of in Rock Hill. All right, my next card is Andrew Puzio.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Puzio, 206 Brookside Drive, Fort Mill, 29715. I am a district parent and teacher. At the last meeting on June 6th, I strongly urged you to ban personal mobile devices in all district schools. I focused on the disconnect between your support of the social media lawsuit and no accompanying action on the ubiquity of phone use in district schools. My presentation today is related but different in nature. I'm sure that you all know that on June 13th, the Rock Hill School District, under the leadership of Dr. Tommy Schmolze, decided to ban the use of phones during the school day. I am proud that someone who came from our district has taken the lead on this. I was even happier to see that it passed unanimously. I wish we had been the first in the county to do so. Now I hope that we will follow Rock Hill's lead. I have here an article from the online edition of the Atlantic magazine. It is dated June 6th of this year, and it is by Jonathan Haidt, who is a social psychologist at the Stern School of Business. It's titled, "Get Phones Out of Schools Now." Here are some quotes from the article. Quote, "Many studies have established that students check their phone a lot during class and that they receive and send texts if they can get away with it. Their focus is often and easily derailed by interruptions from their device. Experiments show that using or just seeing a phone or receiving an alert causes students to underperform." Quote, "The problem is not just transient distraction. Heavy phone or social media use may also have a cumulative, enduring, and deleterious effect on adolescents' abilities to focus and apply themselves. Nearly half of American teens say that they are online almost constantly, and such continuous administration of small pleasures can produce sustained changes in the brain's reward system, including a reduction of dopamine receptors. This shifts users' general mood towards irritability and anxiety when separated from their phones, and it reduces their ability to focus. Smartphone use can be disruptively habitual, with the main detrimental consequence being an inability to exert prolonged mental effort." Quote, "Smartphones don't just pull students away from schoolwork, they pull them away from one another. I have found a global increase in loneliness at school beginning after 2012. Students around the world became less likely to agree with survey items such as, 'I feel like I belong at school,' and more likely to agree with items such as, 'I feel lonely at school.' That's roughly when teens went mostly from using flip phones to using mostly smartphones. It's also when Instagram caught fire with girls and young women globally, introducing selfie culture and its poisonous levels of visual social comparison." Now back to my words. Our neighbor to the south has seen the light and done the right thing for its students. The time has come for Fort Mill to do the same and ban these devices from the start of the school day until the end, coupling the ban with stern enforcement measures. There should be no exception made for academic purposes, as we have Chromebooks to access whatever needs to be done electronically. And no adult should be allowed to ignore the rule because he or she feels differently. We cannot control what students do outside of school, but we sure can set boundaries when they are in school. If we continue to allow phone use in schools, we are party to the ongoing degradation of our students' mental health and education. We made the unfortunate mistake of opening the door. Now we need to reverse course and slam it shut for good. Although your next meeting is not until after the school year starts, I say better late than never. And I ask that you remember that one of our district's 4 core values is children first every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Stacy Ramsey.
Hi, my name is Stacy Ramsey. I live at 1217 Thurns Ferry in Masons Bend. We moved here to South Carolina just under 2 years ago. And I will say that my child, who has autism, has found a lot of success here. And I love this community. And I want to address a core value of Fort Mill, because I want to make sure this community stays great. So, how does Fort Mill School Board plan to uphold its core value of equity, all means all, which I assume includes the 20% non-white and countless other than Christian students, when one of the school board members is supported and endorsed by the extremist right-wing group Moms for Liberty, and took their pledge to advance policies under the guise of strengthening parental involvement, but has historically worked to undermine public education by banning books, COVID safety measures, limit discussions about race and LGBTQIA identities, and has affiliations with white and Christian national extremist groups. And can we expect the list of 155 banned books solely focused on oppressing people of color and their history in America, as well as non-traditional families, to show up in our schools? How do we plan on addressing that?
This is just an opportunity for you to address the board, so we
Right.
won't be engaging.
So that's what I'm concerned with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The last card is Juanita Edwards.
Hello, I'm Juanita Edwards. I live at 814 Bee-Balm Trail in Fort Mill. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of public education in society. I think a lot of times people think of public education as somehow part of parenting. But of course, public education is completely separate. It is for the benefit of society, Thomas Jefferson believed only educated citizens could make the experiment of self-government succeed. He proposed a system of broad, free public education that was radical in its day. Further, educated citizens are needed for our economy to participate in democracy. We moved to Fort Mill for quality public education, which teaches math and reading, but also problem solving, critical thinking, the ability to separate opinions from facts. And candidly, I am concerned that there is a movement in the education world at the whole to undermine and restrict teachers. So as a parent in this community, I want to be on record that there are a lot of us out here who support the teachers, who support the educators, and we will not allow the teachers and educators to have their expertise undermined. They have got advanced degrees, masters. They know what they're doing better than I do. I can tell you COVID showed me that. And I just want to say that I would like to see on record that the parents in this community are not going to stand by for censorship of our teachers, and we're not going to stand by for banning books that marginalize any part of our community. So if people think that that's what's going to happen in Fort Mill, it's not happening. Thank you.
All right, we've got several staff reports next, starting with the monthly financial and impact fee with Ms. Lordo.
Hello and good evening. It's good to see you all back together. Tonight in your packet, you have the monthly financial report for June 30th. Let me start by saying these are certainly not final numbers. They're preliminary, and we will continue to be making adjustments to these numbers as we work through the audit process with our external audit firm. But this is where we stand as far as June 30th with the information we have to date. Total revenues were $199,629,577 compared to total expenditures of $194,027,308. I'm going to touch on this in a minute, but as far as expenditures,
Hey, Leanne, real
yes.
quick. Our material is from May 31st.
Yes.
So can you just go
So-
a little slower so that I can?
Sure. So
Here are your numbers.
we included May, but June includes the year to date. So do you not have June also
We do not.
behind the May? Okay.
No.
Oh, wait.
You got an impact.
Yeah, I have impact fees.
Yep, so if you'll just go slower
Okay.
so that we
Sure.
can hear you.
Okay. And I apologize for that.
Sure, if they're listening to you, Lynn.
I'm like,
Okay. Because they were in my packet behind May. If you keep flipping, no.
What-
Okay.
what
Well, we will get those sent to you.
Well, because this is a 32-page.
I'm sorry. I don't have mine numbered.
nope, I just looked.
Oh, wait.
Do you see it?
No, go to
Okay.
page 11.
There it is. Okay.
Okay.
All right, found
Okay.
it.
One document.
If you have any questions regarding May, I'd be glad to go back to those, but from my perspective, I've moved on to year-end
fair
numbers.
enough.
Okay,
Now, can you just?
sure, I'll recap.
Just said-
So as of June 30th, what we know so far, total revenues, $199,629,577. Is that what you're showing?
Got it. Okay.
Perfect. Total expenditures, $194,027,308. Total expenditures, we spent approximately 99.75% of the budget last year so far. And I say so far because we still have about 2 more weeks that we will be receiving some potential invoices that are for the prior year, like June work, June purchases that we will be posting back. So we've spent 99.75% of expenditures of last year's budget. So you can see right now we do have a positive cash flow of $5.6 million. I'm going to touch on that as far as what could be coming as far as my second transfer request. No significant delinquent real estate collections for June. Once again, we saw a nice number for vehicle tax collections, $1,456,000 in vehicle tax collections for June. That means a lot of cars came up for tag renewal in June. We had originally projected, as far as just local taxes, I felt like we would be in the range of 1.5 to 1.7 million over budget. Right now, we're showing 1,780,000. I did just made a phone call to the county. They have not completely 100% reconciled. I don't expect anything significant to change, but it could be to our benefit with the 30 mills of countywide millage that's based on the 135th day average daily membership. So they are still doing some of their final reconciliations, so we could still see some slight adjustments that the county makes on our final tax collections. As far as year end and what we're showing right now, in looking back at what I originally provided for you, at that time, property taxes over budget were about 2.3 million. We're now up to 3.3 million because of these strong vehicle tax collections in May and June that the county posted, as well as a small amount of delinquents that were paid in May. State aid to classrooms and some other state revenue. In June, I was projecting about 440,000. We're now up to about 855,000. This is what happens at year end. If the state has any carryover funds, they came in and made a one-time distribution of 258,000 to us. They also, when they readjusted at the 135th day, I mean, everything just gets reconciled for June. So with our growth, as we would expect, it's slightly to our benefit, a little more than I thought. But the biggest thing is what we've continued to see with interest earnings on investments with the rates, which is wonderful. We saw about 900,000 combined in interest earnings for May and June. So we're now up over budget about 2.2 million on interest earnings. And that's just something you can't predict the spring before when you plan the budget. But it's definitely a great benefit. And then, as I mentioned, expenditures are under budget right now, about 468,000. That's extremely close on a $190 million budget, 468,000. But that totals about 6.9 million over our budget. You had originally approved a transfer in June of 1.8 million. Remember that? We had the whole list of things that did not make it into our recurring budget. And so I am going to wait and bring to you the next meeting our recommendation for a second transfer. Once I can see, hopefully the county will have their final tax numbers and a few other state adjustments that we will make as we're going through all of our state special revenue funds. But I think it'll be in the neighborhood of $3 million to still put us in a position to increase fund balance a little over $2 million, which will keep our fund balance range in the 19 to 20%. It'll be about 19.5. But I just wanted to wait. Sometimes we do it at this meeting. I wanted to wait until I can get as close as I can to the final numbers. But I wanted to give you the heads up about what you could expect at the next meeting based on these numbers for June right now. So before we talk, any questions on that before we talk about impact fees?
I have one question.
Okay.
I think you said this, but it's the 135th day, or is it the 180th day that the state, I'm going to call it trues up?
The 135th day.
Okay, and that's where it's based on your proportionate share of the entire state's student population, right?
Correct. So let me, that sort of leads into a point I was going to make about the current year's budget. July 26th, which was 2 weeks ago at the most, the state sent their final budget projections for this year. This was based on the state budget passed. Every district that I've talked with, and I've probably talked with a dozen, their allocations decreased. And when we received the explanation, there are so many pieces that are still undetermined. And I'll give you an example. The state went back, they estimated the new charter schools that are opening right now, this month. They estimated the new charter schools. So as we've discussed before, now that charter schools are in the formula, that had an impact on every district in the state. And that's why we're going to continue to advocate and sort of fight for them to take charter schools out of this formula and fund them separately, because it sways the numbers inaccurately when they continue to put charter school enrollment in the formula. The other two pieces, they've not fully allocated the state supplement for health insurance funding. They said they will update that at the 45th day based on all the reporting from districts. And they still have not allocated bus driver salary supplemental funding. And they said that will be provided in the next few weeks. So our allocation decreased 516,000, but at this point, this is, I think, the new way. We're just going to have to get used to this up and down volatility with these state allocations. So we will see what happens after all the districts report in at the 45th day. We may receive something prior to the 45th day if they're going to look at the charter schools, they said, on the 5th day of school, each charter school's 5th day of school. So we may see something change. They may reallocate after that, and then reallocate again at the 45th day.
Which is give or take October 1st, somewhere around in there.
Yes. So we have, my little group that worked real hard on this, we've already started saying, let's start getting together. Now that we have new data, we can, our same position that it's very difficult for districts. Everybody just passed a budget. Everybody's rolling into the new year. And then the end of July, we get sent new numbers. But it affected every district that I've talked to in the same way. I don't think anybody picked up money this time.
I'm curious, you say we got new numbers, but they're still not final? Like, is there a point when they
That's a good
stop
point.
moving and?
There is not a point now when they stop moving and when we're not dependent on how other districts report. And that has been our concern across the state, and that will be.
It's not the timing of when we pass our budget.
Absolutely
because
not.
Even if we'd passed it
Right.
in July, we
Right.
still, next week, could get a new set and up or
Correct.
down. Okay.
Correct. That's why I wanted to share with you that this was received on July 26th. And I've even had some of my colleague friends across the state, I sent an email and said, have y'all looked at yours? We need to get together and start working on our plan. And I had a few that said, I can't bear to look at it. So they said, why did you tell me it went down? This is just new for us and how we operate and the uncertainty. So another reason that I think districts will be saying it's so important, the fund balance is so important because that's your cash flow. That's where you go for your cash flow as we're going through the year with these changes. So, but I did want to share that. I also wanted to share our outside auditors, Green Finney. They were here in July, did our procurement audit. They have not released the report. We'll share when that's released. But just based on conversations, questions, answers with them, we expect once again to have favorable results. They're always going to come up with a few little recommendations that we welcome as we talk about processes and how we can continue to do things better. So, but it was very positive this year. So I look forward to seeing what their final report says. And then that will be submitted to the state procurement office as well.
Hey, Leanne,
Sure.
do we actually have a reason from the state that they find it appropriate to fund the charter schools now?
I do not know the reason, but that's a great question for our legislators, I think.
Because our legislators support charter schools.
Yes.
more
They can
than-
support them, but why have they
The reason
taken
that
it?
was given at the time was they are public schools, and they increased the budget, I don't know, $26 million or something this year, knowing that they were bringing
Bringing that
charter
on.
schools into the fold.
Okay. So do we actually know the true financial impact, at least in a ballpark?
I have requested from the state finance director the I call it the master spreadsheet, where I can see all the districts across the state, and I can see the calculation. I've not received that yet, but I'll have a better idea, and I can share with you then the amount that did change for charter schools, because I've got the previous versions that we worked under during the budget process, and then I'll see the new one, and I can see the difference for the charter schools.
That's
And
great.
I can share that.
Yeah, we'd love that.
Absolutely.
I guess it will depend, because I don't know if charter school enrollment went, I assume it went up.
I assume it went up based on how this memo was worded to us, that they went back and included also the new charter schools and estimated the number of students for the new charters.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. But great point, and I will be glad to share that. Impact fees, we were strong, as you would expect, for June and July. We've collected to date, we've now gone over $60 million. So it's $60,826,836. That's 2,282 single-family homes and 1,614 multifamily, for a total of 3,896. For June, our actual collections were $1,125,000, and for July, $772,000. As you know, and for the benefit of the public, we are now using those funds for construction of elementary school number 12. We have made 2 requests for reimbursements to the county to date, totaling about $1.5 million, and we've received those funds. So we now have the process worked out with the county. We have the flow of the request. We have to send the invoices, and we receive the wire transfer back to our bank account. So we have submitted 2 and received payment for those 2 invoices.
And if anybody hadn't seen where that money is going, drive
Yes.
down Gold Hill Road.
Yes,
Yeah.
And I need
Yes.
to say, Joe's gonna tell the board later, it's a large property when you drive down Gold Hill Road. They've already cleared for both the middle and the elementary.
Right. All at one time.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. That's all I have on the monthly financial. I'm glad to answer any other questions. Okay.
I had
Sure.
just one thought, I guess, and it pertains to the push from our legislators for cash in terms of athletic events and so on. And when you said Green Finney, that's what kind of made me think along their lines. And I'm not against cash for admission and the rest of it. I think that's fine. But the reason we went to the app was because the auditors were encouraging us to have less cash. So do they get together and have discussions or anything with
There was-
legislators to explain that?
No, that was one of those complete surprises at the end of the session. They did not inquire, to our knowledge, with any district about that. I actually discussed that with Debbie Elmore at the South Carolina School Boards Association. I said, where'd this come from? She said, I have no idea. We have decided that we are not going to go back and fully staff ticket booths. If someone comes up and they only can pay cash, we will accept the cash, but we are not going to reopen all of our ticket booths because of exactly what you just said. We have made such progress, and that seems to be the way now, even at college level and other events, venues, that we do not want to go back to that being our primary method of payment.
We'll work around on the very.
We will work
odd requests
around,
that we get.
is our plan. Yes, yes. Okay, thank you.
Our next topic, Ms. Stouffer is going to talk about the policy for paid parental leave. Having to get used to saying Stouffer now.
I know, right? I'm like, wait, who?
Well, good evening. I'm here tonight for the first reading of the Paid Parental Leave Act, policy GCC-AC and GDCC. These 2 policies would be the same for our professional staff as well as our classified support staff. But I know that you received a copy of the School Board Association's model policy for paid parental leave. But I wanted to take this opportunity just to highlight the key components of it for folks who may not be familiar. Again, this is new, and in May of 2023, Governor McMaster did sign into law the Paid Parental Leave Act. And the act became effective June 26th. So this,
Policy or not, it's
Yes.
basically in place.
yes. And it's really been great because this, of course, as you all know, is our primary hiring season from really the spring until August. So it's been a busy time, but we've had so many teachers and classified employees as well ask about the paid parental leave. So just to highlight some of the provisions of it, because I know you've had time again to read through it, and it is about 3 or 4 pages. But the key areas are eligibility. So that's the first component of the policy. In order to be eligible, an employee must be in a half-time or full-time equivalent position. So these are staff positions in our district, so it applies to both certified professional and classified support staff. This policy would not apply to temporary substitutes or positions of that nature. The leave entitlement is regarding the birth or adoption of a child. So many times we have both parents working in our district. We do have a number of staff who are both parents working for us for the same child, the birth or adoption. In those cases, the primary caregiver is eligible for 6 weeks of paid leave at 100% of their daily rate of pay, and the co-parent is eligible for 2 weeks at their daily rate of pay. And that, again, that applies to the birth or adoption of a child. The foster care component of the policy is slightly different in that the foster care component allows for a leave entitlement of 2 weeks. So in that situation, if we had both parents, they could each take 1 week, or one parent could take 2 weeks. But another component of this that I think is really important is that the leave must be taken in consecutive days. But there is flexibility. Most people will want to take the leave consecutively upon the qualifying event, which is the birth or the adoption of the child. But our employees will have up to 12 months after the date of the qualifying event. So the policy goes on to outline what evidence we must receive in order to, validate the request that the employee is eligible. And these items are birth certificate, official letter from a physician, an adoption agreement or foster care agreement, or a letter from the court regarding foster care or adoption. The other component, I think, of this act that is really great is that it does not count against your leave balance. So as an employee, regarding your sick leave, your personal leave, this does not count against that. So what that also means is if you're a first-year employee, you don't have to meet a service requirement to be able to apply for paid parental leave. So that means, hey, if you've only been with the district 1 month and you're having a baby, or you're adopting, or you're fostering a child, you will be eligible as long as you can provide the documentation to support your eligibility. And Sherry Hartley, who currently oversees and coordinates our substitutes, she will also be supporting this area and making sure that folks are complying with the requirements of the policy. And this will be very similar to what she already does in the area of Family Medical Leave Act. Also, paid parental leave, you do not have to meet eligibility like you do with FMLA. To be eligible for job protected leave under Family Medical Leave, employees must have worked for us for at least a year. And they must have also completed at least 1,250 hours of boots on the ground in the workplace. So this is really, again, good for folks, again, who may not have had an opportunity to be on board with us for very long. The other kind of highlights of the policy that I think are also really positive is that paid parental leave does not count against your step increase. Employees who work at least 152 days in a school year, they are eligible to step on the next step as long as the board approves a step increase for that year. And then the only other area that I would say is that the policy does request that, you know, when possible, we receive your request to take the paid parental leave within, you know, no less than 30 days before the anticipated qualifying event, which may be the birth or the adoption of the child. But of course, we know that there's some situations that may not allow that, so we are flexible and we work with employees on that. I didn't know if you had any specific questions in addition to what I've shared, but I'll be glad to answer your questions. I will also share that we already have some employees who have requested the leave, and we have in our department, we've created a form that's an electronic form that we can then provide to employees so they can quickly review the policy and then provide us with the documentation that we need. So it's a very quick back and forth. So, so we can, you know, if it is a position that requires a substitute, that we're then able to, as quickly as possible, work with the principal to secure a substitute, which is also very important in these critical staffing times. But yeah, so tonight, I know this is the first reading of the policies, and we'll come back next time for a second reading. But if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
I'm not sure that you covered it. Maybe you did. If they were at the end of the school year, let's say they were out they took the last 2 weeks. School starts back up, they can take the remaining 4 weeks then, correct?
Yes.
Those 4 weeks have to be then, though.
Correct.
Since they started the first 2 weeks.
Right, and that would be
Wouldn't be like
seen as consecutive.
Okay.
Right, correct.
I don't know if I read it in our policy when I was reviewing it, or if I read it in some state stuff that I was working on, so I may cross my lines here.
Okay.
If we have both parents that are going to be out, is that consecutive for both, or is it?
So,
One and
great
then the
question. If you look at the top of page 3, that very first few sentences, we may elect to deny if it impacts our operations negatively, if we have both parents. The Family Medical Leave Act, federal regulation, also outlines the same, but our practice has been that we have not ever denied the parents if they're eligible, we allow it. So in this case, it would be the same, and that has also presented itself with about 2 or 3 cases already for this school year, and so we are approving both parents, and they just have to let us know who would be considered the primary and who would be the co-parent. And they may take the leave. Of course, the co-parent gets 2 weeks, so for the first 2 weeks, they could be off together for the paid
The way I
parental
read
leave.
it could be consecutive, it could be concurrent, or it doesn't have to be.
Correct, for the 2
It could
parents,
be
correct,
6 weeks
Yes.
for the one.
And then 2
a
after.
month later, 2 weeks
Right.
for the other.
correct.
So you mentioned we've already had a couple people engage in this.
Correct.
Those people would they not qualify for the FMLA?
Correct. Well, the folks that I'm referring to, they are employees that have been with us for a while, so they would be eligible for FMLA
Okay.
as well because they have been here for over 1 year.
Okay, cool. So what kind of impact has this had on them? Like, have they shared that with you?
They haven't shared it with me, but in general, I can tell you the discussion among HR people in the York districts, which we share information and we're friendly, and just in general, I guess the way we all feel is this is amazing for an employee. Day one, if you start with the district, you're going to receive, if you're the primary parent, 6 weeks at full pay on the district's dime.
Yeah.
And as the employer, I mean, that's a huge, huge benefit, in my opinion.
It's a
Yeah.
great impact.
I mean,
Very.
it's fantastic for recruiting and retaining.
Yeah.
It's a challenge for principals,
Mm-hmm.
for staffing, but it's a great benefit for the long run.
And there is no state money. Don't anybody,
Yeah, don't confuse it. This is
Consider
not
this.
being funded by the state.
this is not anything that the state is funding. Again, it's an unfunded mandate.
Correct. How do you feel our substitute tank is to be able to come at this?
We struggle with coverage for subs even prior to paid parental leave, so I'm sure.
If you want to do a
that was
pitch right now, that would be great.
Well, this is, I mean, we're very fortunate. Again, I'll refer to the other York districts because those are the ones that that I am familiar with to some degree. We are the only York district currently that supports our own staffing process when it comes to substitutes. So we are vetting. We are directly involved in the application, the review, the background checking. The other Yorks use an outside company, Kelly Staffing, and again, those agencies are in the business to make money.
Yeah.
So for us, we are more, I would say, probably a little more involved, and as far as hands-on in the training of our subs, we have an excellent team that conducts a half-day training for new subs. We ask or we solicit feedback about what can we do better, what did you feel like we didn't cover that you wished we had, and I will say we're always very proud because the feedback we get, if we do get recommendations, we're always working to, okay, how can we respond to that next time at a training. So the feedback is, wow, I've never worked anywhere. I've worked in other districts as a sub, and I never received this much information. So it's not just a manual that you receive with tips and tricks and key terms and things of that nature, but we have our highly credentialed various staff members in this building, not just HR, but also our curriculum folks. So they go over what a lesson plan is because a lot of the substitutes, they've never worked in education.
Yeah.
So, and then on top of that, we do, in addition to that half-day training, we also offer a technology training that our technology team comes in and does with the group, which is awesome because when you come into our schools, I mean, you need to be able to navigate at least at a baseline foundational level, a laptop or a desktop computer, and sometimes, a smart board. So we receive good feedback, but we're always trying to improve. And we have implemented some things to be perks. We try to remain competitive with our daily rate of pay for substitutes, but we also offer bonuses. So each month, if you're a substitute and you work at least 10 days in a month, you get a bonus at the end of your, each month on your monthly check. And if you work all days of that month, which are typically 20 work days or so, then you receive $250. So I think it's $100 and then $250 if you work the full month. And we have gotten good feedback on where that's concerned. But I will say, again, just like all areas, there are staff shortages, and anything we can do to remain competitive in the area of substitutes and their pay is helpful.
How often do we offer the classes for new subs to get trained?
So
that's one of the things that I hear anecdotally is
Oh,
people signing up, but it just takes a little while because the class is not offered. I don't know if it's once a month, once a quarter, once every 6 months.
We used to provide classes like 1 to 2 a semester. And so now we're doing up to probably 6 a year. But what we have decided is, and the principals are aware of this, in conversation at any time a principal or assistant principal or even a teacher that works for us has someone, they give that information to Sherry, and we do individual onboarding. So even if you've missed, we just had a training a week ago and we're not having another one for 60 days, Sherry is taking those names and responding to those folks, and we're doing what we can to onboard them and train them individually because we have such a need.
We need them.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you.
All right, our next agenda item is on the new alternative school. Mr. Young, Mr. Beals?
Yes, good evening. We are very excited to present the plans for our new alternative program here in Fort Mill. Mr. Bills is our coordinator of alternative programs, stole him from Banks Trail, and we're happy to have him in this role. And he's going to give you a lot more details about the program. But I kind of wanted to give you a history of how we got here and how we got to where we are. If you think back all the way to 2008, we had a program called Fort Mill Academy. It was at the Bank Street location, which is now torn down and is residential houses. But that served as our alternative program for quite a number of years, and actually even served our adult ed population as well. So, but in 2009, we had major budget cuts, as you remember, and we cut the Fort Mill Academy. And what we did was we relocated it to each individual campus at the high school, and then we had one location for the 4 middle schools we were serving at that time. So for the past 14 years, this is how we've served our alternative students in that capacity. Now, for the past couple of years, and really the past year, we've really researched, we've gone and visited other alternative programs across the state. We've talked to the State Department, we've talked to colleagues around the state, and we really felt a huge need for it to serve in one location. And I know Daniel will talk about that more. But as you're aware, Fort Mill land is not something we can easily access here in Fort Mill. So we found some district-owned property between Nation Ford High School and Sugar Creek Elementary School that we're able to use. And we were able to secure a modular building from the Citadel, which this is not your normal modular building. Once you see this thing put together, you're going to be amazed. So it is really, really nice. And we're able to serve up to 75 to 80 students in this facility. Now, we probably are a ways from getting to 75 to 80 students, but we will be able to serve that capacity in this program. It will be fully staffed. Mr. Bills will be our coordinator. We have our own counselor, nurse. We have our own teachers. We have our own security officer at the alternative program. And we've had some construction issues along the way, but we hope to be in that facility by October 1st or somewhere around there. In the meantime, we are going to be at Banks Trail, where we served our middle school students for the past few years. So we're excited to get into the new facility. We do want to address any misconceptions that people might have about the alternative program. And I'm sure after Mr. Bill speaks, you're going to get a clearer picture of what we're doing there and our goals and the excellent program that it's going to be. We're really excited about it. But these are students in our community. They're there for a number of reasons. Some are there for behavior reasons. Some are there for academic. Some are there for attendance. Some are there because that's where they need to be. It's a better learning environment for them at the time. And our goal is to help them be better students, help them to be better citizens of our community, and help them get back to that general education setting. So, and Daniel's going to talk a lot more about that. Again, safety is our top priority, not only for this school, but for all of our schools. So we're going to do everything we can to keep our students and our staff safe, and we're really excited about it. So I'm going to hand it over to Daniel, and if y'all have any questions, I'll be right here to answer.
Thank you. Well, good evening. I hope everyone is doing well. I appreciate our school board being here. I guess it's a board meeting, so you have to be. Our faculty, our parents, our students, and other members of the community. It is very impressive to me being a first-time presenter, the support that we have in our district, and I want to thank you all for that. So I'm going to apologize up front. I'm going to have a few written notes. I am totally going to read them to you versus standing up here and presenting to them, because between the excitement of the new school year, a 4-year-old that is bouncing off the walls with excitement to join the 4K program, a 2-year-old that is going through potty training, bless my wife's heart, and a newborn baby. My thoughts are a little scattered, so I want to make sure my message to you is clear and concise. So please bear with me if I end up reading a large section of this to you. So our school district has always been committed to fostering a supportive and inclusive learning environment with the intention to allow each and every student to feel valued and empowered to reach their fullest potential. Said betterly, children first, every day. I'm sure your countless interactions with our students and our schools, you are aware that one size does not fit all when it comes to education. This realization has led our district leadership, as Mr. Young noted, to carefully consider the needs of our students who, for various reasons, may not thrive in the traditional classroom. As a result, under the leadership of Dr. Epps, Mr. Gray Young, and Mrs. Jocelyn Young, not related, the district has reevaluated the success of the alternative programs, ultimately determining the needs of our students would be better served in its own setting with dedicated resources and staff rather than spread across the various different high schools and one select middle school each year. I firmly believe that the individuals like Mr. Clarkson which I did not plug him here, that we have put in place are going to make a lasting impact on our wonderful students we serve. So thank you for approving all of their positions and mine. So in the spring, a steering committee made up of staff from various different departments and schools across the district began the process of designing how to best serve the needs of our students. Since being named the coordinator of this position or of this program, my goal is to build on this foundation to which they have created. In light of the steering committee suggestions, there is a need to make programming changes in order to improve how our students are served through the alternative programs to better meet the profile of the South Carolina graduate. I will gladly touch on these programming changes, but I do invite you all to come visit, lay your eyes on it, be involved as much as possible. So, one of the big things that we realize is that the traditional alternative program we have isn't best meeting the needs of the students that we serve. And one of the big first steps that we need to take in this, or the imperative first step, is we need to redesign our alternative program to have a restorative approach to our students. Our goal is to, when possible, restore them back to their full school or their home schools, allow them to have the best possible education in the process, and give them some life skills that they need along the way. The foundation of this program emphasizes the importance of building positive relationships, addressing any harm, and nurturing personal growth. The essence of the new direction of the alternative program lies in its ability to provide true second chances for our students who may have faced difficult and turbulent circumstances in their lives while providing an individualized, free, and appropriate education. Our restorative approach not only addresses academic, attendance, behavioral, organizational, and social emotional concerns, but it also seeks to understand the underlying causes, encouraging the student to take responsibility for their actions in their personal growth. As part of my discussions with the steering committee, I am cognizant that there is a stigma often tied to traditional alternative programs. Their punitive nature of traditional alternative school often carries negative connotations as perceived in our society as a place for troublemakers. The stigma not only impacts the reputation of our program, but it also discourages potential students and their families from considering the opportunities offered here. As the coordinator of the alternative programs, I ask you to consider the steering committee and my recommendations to rebrand the alternative program's name to better match the work we will accomplish for the betterment of our students. By rebranding ourselves as the Oak Grove Academy, we can emphasize our focus on restorative practices, providing a supportive and inclusive educational environment that values empathy, personal growth, and development of positive relationships. The branding will help us shift public perception, serve a wider range of students, and truly reflect the unique transformative potential of our program. So, our slide 1 here, as you see, our mission statement is to equip students with educational experiences inside and outside of the classroom, to restore the foundational roots of learning, to empower all students to become productive members of societies. And our motto is simply restoring strong roots to empower success. All right. Do I control the clicker? Nope.
It may not be turned on.
There it is. I just hit all the wrong buttons. It's fine. That makes me feel better. So thank you to Mr. Burke. He, when we pitched the idea originally to Dr. Epps, he allowed us to ask Mr. Burke to design some logos. So this is the logos that his creativity has put forth. So the intentionality in our name derives in the strength and longevity associated with oak trees and the collective gathering of our 3 high schools and 6 middle schools in the Grove. We have built our meaning of our program based around the words Oak Grove. Our student outcomes are opportunity, advancement, and knowledge. With the new direction of our program, students will have more opportunity than traditionally afforded to them in the alternative program. The first change we made and felt like it was essential was to extend our student school day to a full 8 hours. Our high school students will no longer have to drop a credit for being in the program, and our middle school students will be able to continue working in their electives. Our students will also have the flexibility or While our students will also have flexible learning environments, students will have the opportunity to discover how they learn best, their motivators, organizational skills, and have different learning modalities. Students will also have access to blended learning environments that utilize online and face-to-face instruction. Students will have the individualized access to additional support pathways to include career counseling, guidance, and mental health support as needed. Our dedicated team will allow students to see beyond graduation, repair harm, and identify positive mentors in their community. Looking at advancement, with the extended hours and small class sizes, students will have the opportunity to grow academically, socially, emotionally, professionally, and work to give back to the community. Students served through the alternative program will now have the opportunity to take part in credit recovery, as well as the acceleration track to earn up to 6 credits in a semester. Ms. Crapo, our wonderful guidance counselor and special education teacher, is working with the community right now to utilize opportunities to give alternative students to boost our back the pack program, ooh, tongue tie, to better serve students district-wide to benefit from this program. She started this work when she was at Banks Trail. We realized with the alternative program we can better serve all schools. So I'm not going to speak for her because she's way more into it than I am. Going on to knowledge, we are working with our wonderful content coordinators in home schools this year to establish criteria where students may keep their academic tracks at the alternative program. In addition, when a student is ready to return to learn at their home schools, they will have access to check-ins with designated staff at their home sites with principal approval, as well as follow-ups from alternative staff for the following semester.
It is a program, not a school.
Correct, yes, sir.
It won't have its own beds code.
No, sir.
Obvious reasons. The test scores would be tied to Fort Mill High, Cadawari. So, in that vein, the board policy is a little unclear as to whether the board should approve the name. I'm thinking we probably need to approve the name as a board since it's a standalone building, not tonight, but the policy, the reason we didn't bring it as a slam dunk approved was according to how you interpret the policy, since it's a program, not a school, but that'd be my suggestion.
And it looks like it's also a logo, and since we did that before, it would seem to make sense. Would make sense.
Thank you. So for the sake of time, I'll not go into much depth about our foundational roots of our program. We will work to develop following values of our students. We will instill a growth mindset, responsibility and decision-making, organizational skills, vision beyond high school, and engagement in learning. This is also our staff's core beliefs that we're going to be tweaking. I don't want to speak for them, but I started a program and I'm looking forward to working with them next week. I'm not going to read through all these slides for you because I know you are busy people and you most likely have read them already. What our students should expect, we do still have high expectations just like any other Fort Mill school or program. We want to push our students to be the best versions of themselves. We do have a new orientation process for our students where we will collect a lot more information about them so our school can, or excuse me, our program, our site can better serve these students and help restore them back to their home schools at a readily rate. We'll have a level system that's based off of academics, attendance, behavior, character education that'll allow our students to see the progress that they are making. We'll give them feedback with it every 10 days. There'll be a check-in, check-out system, check-and-goes, which are where we design a staff member to make sure that students are hitting the goals that we've designed with them and for them. We'll jump into a few more things. One of the big things we're looking at, and thankfully with the board's approval, with several of our content areas, we have now full-time teachers that will be allowed to provide face-to-face instruction with a blended method. That'll also incorporate Edmentum and Ed Options in South Carolina Virtual School, so that way we can better serve each of our students based off of the courses that they are enrolled in. And lastly, we have formed strategic partnerships with local businesses, alumni, and community members to support our developing program. Notably, the Hauser Group has provided our students with 2 basketballs to promote physical goals to promote physical wellness with our students. The Visionscape Group has begun funding and sent their half of their they're going to give 750 this quarter, 750 next quarter, so we can build raised garden beds to allow therapeutic activities as well as hand-on learning space. And lastly, Modern Concepts of Baxter is offering our staff in our sister campuses, if they're willing, a no-cost to the staff or district wellness program, which includes weekly yoga or Pilates instruction classes. So that way our teachers are healthy mind, because healthy teachers help healthy students. Our students and staff will greatly benefit from our great partners, so I'm appreciative of them. So I ask that you consider supporting our and open the dialogue regarding the rebrand of our program and to better reflect the direction of our program. And thank you for your feedback, and I'm open to any questions or feedback you may have.
I have questions.
Yes, sir.
So I want to qualify this by saying I think we do have wonderful students in our district. That's for certain. Last year, I'm going to say I had probably about 25 to 30 teacher invitations where I went to go visit some classes, and probably 25% of the time I had plenty of teachers that apologized to me on some of the problems that they had in their class. So I wanted to qualify that for a second. So there's about 4 questions I have for you. You've answered it, but I just want to make sure I get clarity on this next one here. What influenced the now? Has something happened to influence this progression?
Nothing particular, so to speak, has done this, but we have been, like we said, we've been looking at this for over 2 years now. And I will tell you, our past alternative program, when it was located at the schools, was not as successful as we wanted it to be. We felt like we were seeing a lot of the same students back and forth. And as Daniel or Mr. Bills spoke about, we want to restore and improve and get them to be back in the general education setting and stay there. So we, again, looking at other districts across the state, talking to colleagues, we feel that having one set location with dedicated staff working with these types of students is beneficial for them and for our district and our community.
Thank you. Next question, for clarity, for acute clarity, I want to make sure I understand, I hate to use the word profile, of an alternative school candidate. Is that throwing bubble gum in class or throwing a piece of paper? Kind of give some insight on this, please. You did, but if you can give a little bit more.
Yep. So again, we have students there for all types of reasons. Some are there because they made one poor choice. And it was a choice that we feel that they need to go to the alternative school and get those restorative practices for. Some, it's a series of poor choices. Some, it's because we can't get them to school. And we want to work with them on that, getting them to school and making sure they're coming to school each day and coming on time. Some are for academic reasons. They're not giving 100% in the academic realm, and they're not doing the work that they need to in class or maybe at home, and we want to work with them there. And some, it's just because they want to be in that, they need to be in that smaller setting for a while and really focus on their academics and catching up maybe on certain things to get caught up with their classmates. So,
thank you. There are many reasons for teacher turnover across the U.S. I want to qualify again that we have wonderful students.
Yep.
I've seen them all. I'm around them daily. Do you feel that the type of behaviors is contributing to teacher turnover?
I would say that's obviously there are some that have contributed to that with teacher turnover because of behaviors. But I will say in Fort Mill, we're very fortunate. We have great students, great families, but we also have administrators, school administrators that support their teachers. And when there are behavior problems in the class, they're addressing those immediately. So we're very fortunate in our district for them to address those immediately and support our teachers with classroom management. And yeah.
I also think with the schools integrating the CI3T model this year, I think it will really help streamline the process of seeing what students need, the tier 3 interventions that we can provide. I think having that formal process at the schools will assist them and help them determine when's the best time for them to make that referral to the alternative program.
Perfect. Last question. Do we have consistent practices on how we discipline our students? Because I have to guess, no, it's not a guess. This is hard stuff you guys are dealing with. And Every student, every child is different. The question is, piggybacking on that is, can you provide insights on how we ensure our stakeholders are implementing and executing our best practices?
So I'm glad you asked that. That has been a focus of ours. Last summer, we started looking at our middle school and high schools and the consistent discipline practices and consequences and how important that is across the district. So we met with middle school administrators, high school administrators last summer. We created a matrix to have consistent discipline consequences for our students. And we revisited that at the beginning of the summer this year and looked at those consequences again. And it's really input from us, the Student Services Department, but also from our school administrators because they're the ones on the ground. They're the ones that are working with these students on a daily basis. So yes, that has been a big focus of ours over the last year or two to create those consistent consequences.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, I'll go. Want to just shout out the guy who really did a lot of the work to bring this to our community, and that's I don't know if he's here, but Mr. Joe Romanek had just such a large role in getting this and saved our taxpayers millions and millions of dollars by being able to land this deal. So definitely a shout out to him being able to do that, because we were looking at this. We were looking at this anyway, and for him to kind of come in clutch the way he did was very, very special. Mr. Beals, I would love to unpack your vision. I loved it. It is just absolutely awesome. You mentioned you mentioned that you want to equip students with educational experience inside and outside of the classroom to restore foundational roots. It's a very powerful statement. Could you unpack the outside of the classroom portion for me?
Yes, sir. So please know that a lot of this is still a work in progress.
Yeah.
But we have worked a lot with our community so far this summer to bring programs, to better our students. One of the things that we were able to creatively budget with some of our hiring practices, we were able to save money, so we were able to spend money. And one of the things we have brought in is a career development facilitator part-time to work with our students to help them see that vision beyond high school. So he'll be with us every Friday, Mr. Eddie Young. He's going to work with our students, especially in our high school setting, to help them see what are my next steps. Because in speaking with some of the students I have this summer, that next step is unclear to some of our students that we serve. And I think if we can invest in them and give them opportunity, real world opportunity, not only just the experiences of filling out a survey of what do I like, but also actually meeting with business partners to see what is it that you actually require on Fridays. That is one of our goals. Yes, sir.
And one more thing, I honestly, I just want to encourage you. That was something that would have just been amazing for me. Like what you're talking about was me, and I absolutely love it. So I really just want you alluded to kind of like a little bit of image and what people think of the term alternative school. I have come to find that people will see what they want to see in something, and they'll justify it, with however they want to see it. If they want to find a reason to not like something, they will. If they want to find a reason to like something, they will. And so we'll do whatever we can. At least I will support whatever I can to get to some kind of image. But I just wanted to encourage you that you are stepping into something of just great impact that no one else in our district has. Like no principal has what you're about to step into. Well, there's a separate. Yours is kind of standalone, and you have I can just hear it from you. You have a calling to do that. So just here in front of everyone, you are definitely the right person for this position.
Thank you.
I'm just going to piggyback for a second. I love the things about the interpersonal skills, the community service, right? I think the whole child concept, right? That academics are very important, but there is more to school than just
Yes, ma'am. We have to
reading
reach
and
them before
writing.
we can teach them. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Other questions? All right.
I just want to end by saying, and kind of piggybacking on Mr. Helms, I hope you can see the passion that this man right here has for this. You know, Jocelyn and I have been working on this for a while, and hiring Mr. Bills, he has taken it and just run with it and added so much to this program, and it's going to be so successful, really because of his leadership and his vision for what we want to do here. And these kids are going to benefit, our district's going to benefit, and our community as a whole is going to benefit from this program. We're really excited about it. Thank you for your support in the budget process to help us get to where we are.
Very excited.
Yep.
All right, one more staff report. Get some updates on the summer program from Mr. Scroggs, Mr. Ollinger, in whichever order you're going to go.
All right, so it looks like middle and high school is going to go first. Go ahead.
Oh, that was a dirty move, Peter. I don't even know what to say. I had a whole little stick about how I was going to come in as the closer, and you bumped me in the rotation. All right. Well, we want to talk to you about, summer's here. It's wrapping up now, but our students and our teachers have been hard at work trying to bridge the gap from one year to another. The middle and the high school, as well as the elementary, have had programs trying to extend learning, pre-intervention, remediation of skills. Lots of opportunities for our kids, and just want to give you a glimpse of what that looked like at the middle and high school level. We had basically, and there's more than this when we get into individual camps pertaining to like arts and CTE fields, but these are more academic in nature. So at the middle school level, we had a focus on a STEAM camp at Springfield Middle School that was funded by Title IV funds, middle school math camp at Fort Mill Middle School, and then a middle school summer school at Fort Mill Middle School as well. At the high school level, we had various, and I'm going to go into those pre-intervention camps. Those are our proactive steps to keep kids from falling behind. And then we had the opposite end of that spectrum, the content recovery, helping students that fell behind master the content in order to move ahead and stay on progress towards our ultimate goal of a high school diploma. So our pre-intervention programs, the goals for each program were different because we had different things going on at the three campuses at the high schools, and the middle schools had different targets, but everyone is trying to provide assistance at an individual or small group level because that's where we see the greatest gains, especially during the summertime. We want to support based off of the individual needs of that struggling student. So we try to identify the areas of where do you need remediation or where can we bridge that gap specific for you. If you are going into AP Calculus, what are the fundamentals we need to prepare you to come in with? Or if you're going to jump up to Algebra 2, where do we need to remediate your math skills in Algebra 1 or geometry, things like that. We try to incorporate small group and one-on-one wherever we can. And again, that's the feedback we've heard from students in previous years, that they have appreciated that one-on-one investment from our teachers. The STEAM camp, we had 48 students for 6 weeks, which is quite a commitment for these kids. And they dove into a ton of different things. STEM enrichment, so they're going to have science, technology, engineering, math, but they're also going to enrich that with art and music, and they had PE classes to keep them physically active. They also had counseling on health and wellness, dropout prevention, physical activity. So this was a very holistic approach to camp. It wasn't just we're going to work on your math skills and send you on. They started each morning with morning meetings. They broke out into STEM lessons. Then they had some fun with arts and PE. They had a counseling session, and at the end of the day, they had small group reflection on the growth that they made. One of the things they did was tackle a 272-page book, The Lion of Mars, which was their summer reading. They broke that down to about 18 pages a day, and it was, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? They were able to do that, so they're going to leave having read their pre-course reading. They're going to have had some skills that kept them up to date on their math and English and writing. And we also tried to do some things for the parents. Parent tech sessions where you assist families and how can you support your child? Well, let's teach you how to access Parent Portal. Let's teach you how to access Google Classroom and other things that are going to help you invest in your own child's education by supporting parents to support their kids. Let's see, like I said, 48 students, really impressed with that book, and that was at Springfield Middle School, we're looking to do another program with them throughout the year with those Title IV funds again that make that possible. And for those that are unaware, Title IV funds are kind of a holistic approach, and that's where you see some of the things like health and wellness. Those are pots of money that we have to address with those funds. So that's why it's a very holistic approach to the camp, because those funds have to be spent very holistically. Middle school math camp. This is something taken on by the schools. They were very excited to help bridge the gap for students who are going into Algebra 1. So it's focused on what are those pre-algebra skills we want to make sure every kid going into it has. In this case, it's for a student who is entering Algebra 1 as a result of qualifying for GT Math. Maybe they recently qualified, so they're taking a big leap, maybe from 6th and 7th grade in a grade level course to going to an Algebra 1 class where they haven't had pre-algebra as a content. So how do we give them those pre-algebra skills? Or they've just been accelerated because they've done well and are trying to reach upper level maths in high school, and this is the mechanism to do that. So we have a math teacher who takes on students 1 week, Monday through Thursday. They're run from 9 to 12. They cover those important pre-algebra concepts. There was a small cost to the student. It's $30. That covers the materials, but also it's the compensation for the time for the teacher and all their preparation. So we think that that's open to everyone. Even though Fort Mill Middle, it's their faculty member who puts it on, they open it up to all the middle schools, and we prepare our kids for it there. Let's see, middle school, summer school. This is more traditional what you think of when you think of summer school. I need this course to promote, but we were able to do some incredible things. And I give all the credit to the leader of the program this summer. She was able to take 67 students and work them through, in some cases, an 8 to 4:30 day, where they were doing 2 classes a day. So 4 core classes represented there: English, math, social studies, and science. If the student needed more than 1 class, they did it in the morning and the afternoon. And the majority of our kids did that. We had 41 students on a full day schedule. What's really special about this is the coordinator here went above and beyond by providing incentives to keep the kids engaged, that if they completed their work for the day, they were rewarded with things like candy, snow cones, and different little incentives to say, hey, you did good today, let's keep up the good work. Daily announcements to recognize students who had gone above and beyond over the PA system. So you want to put a smile on a kid's face when they're having to be there during the summer to do schoolwork. You say, you did an outstanding job. We want to recognize that. And then this is just awesome. Soliciting gift cards from local churches to provide students who did not have a lunch with a lunch item. So with a lunch. I think that's awesome incentive. I'm going to butcher her name here, Alyssa Chwalowski, but that's who ran the program for us from Fort Mill Middle. So big shout out to her. And then finally, kind of looking at the high school programs that we had here, we had our traditional transition camps for 9th graders who may struggle with transition to high school academically or socially. We want to make sure we're bridging the gap, and that terminology has been dropped, but the of bridges programs, but not the idea of providing a bridge from middle school to high school for those that are going to struggle, like I said, either academically or socially. We want to try and do that pre-intervention work. How can we make you feel comfortable and supported? How can we make you feel prepared academically to step in day one and be successful? We have this not just for our 9th graders, but we have some pre-intervention programs in Algebra 1, Geometry, English 2, Chemistry, AP Calculus, AP Geography. So we've got our very highest rigor academic courses and some very rudimentary introductory courses as well. So the high schools are trying some new things, trying to provide supports for success. And I think it's awesome that we're being proactive rather than reactive in our approach. College essay workshop. We had, 50 kids who participated in a college workshop over the summer to prepare. 70 kids at some of the, the 9th grade programs. Also, our traditional remediation for those failing a course to get to a 60. If you failed with a 55 to a 59, the state of South Carolina allows us a mechanism called credit recovery, where the students can receive remediation and bump that grade from the failing grade to the passing grade of 60. Across all 3 high schools, we had 95 students that participated in spring, which is really in summertime, credit recovery. We also had about 20 plus individuals that participated in the state's provided online recovery program of Virtual South Carolina High School. So that allows us to do an online course over the summer, not to work ahead, but really to remediate, and it does the entire course. So for our students participating in our on-campus one, they're really remediating about 5 or fewer points. If you are doing the other one, you are having to do the entire scope. Quite an accomplishment for those students. So that's what our programs at the middle and high school look like this summer. Any questions?
Fantastic.
Now you're up, buddy.
Appreciate Mr. Scroggs opening that up for us in elementary. In a couple minutes, we're going to show you a 2 to 3 minute video that kind of just pulls it all together for our summer programs. And for those of you, you've heard us speak probably the last 3 years. I want to thank Amber Smith. She's kind of really directed a lot of this program for us, where we consolidated all of our summer programs into one location on one site so we can pull our resources together for all of our support staff. So we had summer camp again this year. It's funded through a lot of different avenues. It's district funded lunch and learn. That's for our students that may need some extra meal support, as well as our intervention students. We also have summer reading camp, which is for our current third graders rising fourth that may be in danger of not meeting that state level of being proficient in reading. And we also have Title III funds, which are for English as a second language learners. We also had some carryover from the old Title IV, which provided some academic classes for our second graders. And in addition, we also had our last year of some of our ESSER funds we looked at early childhood with reading. So our rising second grader, current first graders, providing an additional reading support. So this is our last year of those ESSER funds that we rolled into this camp. So a lot of different pots of money that go into it. We served almost 230 students, had about 45 staff members, and you'll see that again in the quick video. But I want to thank Amber and her work for this program. I want to thank Mr. Allen in Pleasant Knoll Elementary. That's where we housed it this year. Went great there, along with ESY. So they did a wonderful job. We're very welcoming to our staff, taking over their building for the month of June. All this took place in the 4 weeks of June. And also want to thank Jen O'Neill from River Trail, James Whitlock from Riverview, Jessica McCree from Riverview, Missy Babinchek from Sugar Creek, and also Rashad Brown from Gold Hill. They were kind of our leaders of our various camps. They were kind of the go-to for those camps. So I do want to publicly thank them for their work this summer. So we're going to play the quick video, and then if you have any questions, Amber and I both will be here to answer any questions that you have. And you can see from those pictures, they did a lot of reading. They did math, but we also had a STEM time, as well as they had recess and PE as well. And we had a counselor on site too for lessons as well.
What is this, the third year in a row that we've treated it as space camp instead of summer school? I mean, I think that, making it fun and branding it that way is very beneficial for our students. So love that.
Any questions?
Goes to Mr. Beal's point.
Right. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all.
All right, I think we are on to you for a calendar and enrollment update.
Everybody's getting tired now, so we'll get through this as best we can. We'll start with calendar. We jump right in tonight with the meeting, of course, but tomorrow you can see on the 9th, the administrative in-service. We kick off with our administrators, always a uplifting day. We're going to try to do a lot of motivational things tomorrow instead of a lot of the, we're going to do the fun stuff tomorrow. And we also will get a visit from Ellen Weaver, which we're looking forward to that as well, to help us with our welcome. Then on the 10th, we are the new folks coming in from 9 to 10, Jumpstart Teacher Induction Program, 9 to 1. I'm speaking to them early in the day. Teachers return on Monday the 14th. Tuesday's the big day, the Engage to Learn Conference, the Teacher of the Year presentation. If you remember, we decided to, instead of doing the Teacher of the Year in September or October, we decided, like most districts, to go ahead and put it in with the kickoff program. And Mike, I believe the committee is asking, I don't think the board will mind this, they're asking that we, instead of being suit and tie that day, the schools are going to be dressed in all their colors, that we, even the board members who want to come, we can have, yeah, so, anyway, I'm telling you right now, if you come in a coat and tie, you might be alone. So that'll be fun, but that's the,
Got paid bills.
so we'll kick off like we did there, and then the Teacher of the Year and the Support Staff Employee of the Year will be presented. So it ought to be a lot of fun. We get back down, then we have all the in-house open houses and all between there on Thursday of that week. Then the 21st, first day of school for students. And board members, if you want to join us, board member, you can volunteer for a school. I think Donna, Pat, or whatever your name is. Did you send, can they get? Board members can sign up for a school if you like. I'll try to get all of them that day, and that's always a fun day, like jet skis on that day, trying to hit all 20 schools. Then, of course, the school board meeting on the 22nd, which is the Tuesday night. We'll only have 2 days of data, which is the bad part, but student enrollment data. But that'll be the second day of students. Then you have your conference in Greenville, your law conference that weekend, I believe, the 26th, 27th. Then just please note that on Labor Day is the Monday the 4th, but we will not have the board meeting on Tuesday that week. We're pushing it to Wednesday, so don't come over here on Tuesday the 5th. You might be alone. And then the school board visits to Fort Mill, Gold Hill, TKK Elementary, and Gold Hill Elementary and TK Elementary. And when we do the Sugar Creek, and we may do it before then, but when we do the Sugar Creek visits, we could go ahead and do the alternative school.
At some point, we need to work in the alternative school. We just need to figure out the right timing.
And it may be, I don't want to wait that long, so, because I don't know when it is on the calendar.
There's
probably
also
left off some dates.
There's a board meeting on the 19th of September as well.
Okay.
A second board meeting,
Yeah.
as needed.
Did you say a board meeting on the 22nd as well? Okay, so, all right. I just didn't see that on here.
August.
I just didn't see that on there.
Questions and other dates other than the calendar, if anybody may have.
October is regional advocacy stuff from SCSBA. They are not doing one in our area this year. They are asking to do one in our area, perhaps here in our district office next year. That'll be in October, but other than that, they're not. The other thing that I learned today, actually, Beyond the Basics will not be Beyond the Basics. It is a civility, and it is community civility, which was something that we started last year. So that is what Beyond the Basics is going to be this year. And I don't remember the date on that. Maybe the 19th of October, but I don't know. So that's way out there yet.
Other dates? Okay, let's talk a little bit about enrollment. As I told you when we met last time or whenever, I hesitate to send out these numbers because the numbers are so, I want to say, they're not accurate. They're loose numbers. Particularly, the 180-day numbers are accurate, but we don't know, from looking at the next numbers, you just don't know who's going to show and who's leaving. For example, last year, when the first day, and remember what we do the first few days, and Joe, you and Lippy are new to this, maybe. We go first day this year, first day last year, second day this year, second, all the way to project enrollment for the year. I mean, to notice how much we've grown. So last year, for example, on the first day we had 18,164. The second day we fell to 17,594. We couldn't count all of a sudden. You know that's not so. Third day we were up to 17,730. So I guess I'm pointing out the volatility of the numbers. They don't really settle into about day 5 or 6, and when people finally show up and we do a better job of counting heads. But that's the problem with looking at the numbers that I sent you. You showing some wild gaps up and down in schools and only showing, but remember that's from the 180th day.
So this number here is everyone who is registered, whether it was a registration, a re-registration from last spring, or it's a new student has come and registered, or if someone has withdrawn that we know about.
Yes, and I'd say roughly speaking that's true.
Right.
And we have how many in the hopper right now with appointments for?
There's, what is it, 100?
209.
209, okay.
Yep, so.
But my point is, you really don't get a good read. You might think, oh, God, that's only 41 kids. Remember, though, we do first August to first August, year to year. Yep. So keep that in mind. So really, I hate to put a lot of credence in the numbers, but I feel like I had to give you something to chew on.
So with that being said, I'm just kind of high level.
Oh, here we go.
I know currently there's an enrollment freeze at Gold Hill Elementary, correct? And Pleasant Knoll Middle School.
And?
Springfield.
And Gold Hill Middle and Elementary.
I'm gonna let Greg.
Okay. So just looking at the numbers that we were given, knowing that they're not, nothing's in stone, it kind of looks like with the appointments that Springfield Elementary is going to be over capacity at the beginning of the school year.
So we have, just to kind of address the freezes real quick, we do have a freeze at those 3 schools. However, we have been able to bring back, because of, they're not gaining population, they're only losing population of students who've moved or whatnot. So we've been able to bring back almost all of our students that have enrolled since that March or February 27th date or whatever date that was, where we froze those schools. Springfield Elementary School, we are watching very carefully. Our classroom numbers, really kindergarten's the main one we're looking at. It's getting a little bit larger than we would like, but we're watching that right now and hopefully can make it to the start of school before looking at possibly freezing Springfield Elementary.
But likely, we will still have those 3 and now maybe 4 schools
Correct.
going forward.
Yep.
On a freeze. It's just that the good news is those who were frozen into a different school last year have had an opportunity to be reconsidered.
Correct. And we are at the point where we brought back so many students at those 3 schools that it depends on the grade level, but at certain grade levels we are at right at capacity. So registration is still going on. We still have a lot of families coming in, and some of them are being frozen to those other schools. So, yep.
Really, I don't think you see relatively true numbers until after Labor Day, I guess is my point. Yep.
Based on the number of comments that I've seen of people saying, is it really important to do the first week if I've got a vacation plan and those kind of things? I'm like, All right, what else you got?
That's it.
All right, if that is the case, then we are in need of an executive session to discuss personnel recommendations, legal issues, and contractual issues. So I appreciate everybody for joining, and we will now move into executive
Motion
session.
to go into executive session.
Thanks, everybody.